Welcome to the On Deck podcast for all your baseball DFS needs with your superstar host, fantasy baseball experts, Casey, Bubba, and Bogman. On Deck podcast is sponsored by LineStar app, the #1 top-rated data and analytics tool for daily fantasy sports.
And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the On Deck MLB DFS podcast, brought to you by the wonderful people at LineStar Sports. Make sure you check them out on Twitter at LineStar DFS and at the LineStar app. And make sure you download the app in the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. Get you everything you need in the palm of your hands to build your winning lineups. So go do it now. Like, pause the podcast and go do it. And then also, once you pause the podcast and come back, leave a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. We'd really, really appreciate it. It's really fun stuff like that. You can find myself on Twitter at BDNtrick and my co-host is always on Twitter at Bogman Sports. Scott Bogman, how we doing, man?
You know, you see me and Bubba smirking at each other if you're watching on YouTube, and it's because Bub just made the worst pun dad joke ever. He called his Giants the sleeping Giants. I just want to let everybody know that this is what it's not just during the show that he tortures me with these. He does it off camera, off mic, doesn't matter. He's still hitting me with these dad puns and dad jokes. So
to be fair, you set me up pretty good for that one.
Yeah, but come on, man. Like, you know, you gotta know when Casey at the bat, right? You gotta know when to take it.
Hey, I was a T-ball all-star. You put it on a T, I'm going to crush it. It's just how it goes.
You and Chris Owings, right? From the very first show we ever did together. So,
oh, man, Chris Owings, that guy. Let me tell you, the killer of every. Like, he's the perfect Colorado Rocky because he can play over every young, talented player. It's beautiful. So, yes, Chris Owings. That's a long story from way back when, folks. Chris Owings.
That's right.
Goodness gracious. So, what a day of baseball we had, Bogman. That speaking of the Giants, came back in 1-13. That
Grand slams galore in Washington and Philly.
Washington and Philadelphia. There's like a football score between the
Wander Franco
team. Crazy.
Didn't even have a hit today, like a loser, but
what a bum. No wonder he's $2,000 on DK.
Yeah, just keep him at that price because he sucks, obviously, now.
He's the next Jared Clinic. Just send him down in 2 weeks.
I got my home run call again 2 days in a row. Let's go. Jose Altuve.
Look at you. Look at you. Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Hey, look, the Diamondbacks are miserable, but I'm doing okay. So
yeah, all
my fantasy leagues are pretty decent too. So I'm all right.
And then, you know, to finish off the evening, the night slate, you mentioned you had Altuve. The Astros went ham. The A's were a disappointment. They let Folty off the hook. That was embarrassing.
Oh yeah.
But the Mets continue to hit. Like, they're getting hotter and healthier. Even Conforto had a couple.
Conforto comes back. Yeah. Lindor starting to figure it out, and this is why. I like to buy on Lindor before because, he's adjusting to a new league too. Let's not forget that is a lot of
New York media coming from Cleveland. Come on.
And the New York media, all the stuff. It's really a culture shock, and you're dealing with new pitchers and a new division and all that stuff. And you're starting to see these guys a second time around and you're starting to figure stuff out. So I like it.
Yeah, no, it's one of the sayings, like, you and I both do a lot of fantasy baseball shows, and we get listener questions like, oh, should I give up on this guy? And it's like, there's a lot of players that you just trust the back of the baseball card. Like, they might not get that close, but they're going to be very good the rest of the way. So, like, I've had a person on, like, almost weekly ask me, Juan Soto is a bust. And I'm like, no, he's not a bust. He's going to be just fine. Calm down. It's Juan Soto. But, fun stuff there. He is slumping. It is not where he wants to be, but he was banged up. I don't know if he's still healthy yet. That's a $1 million question with Soto also. But what else isn't healthy is my eyes after looking at the pitching on this 8-game slate.
It's not great. So, I mean, I got Ray and Urquidy last night, but, I look and I see some guys that are in play, but really 3 viable options tonight. So it is ugly.
It's very, very ugly, and it's an 8-game slate, so that's 16 pitchers, and he said 3, folks, 3. So you know what that tells you? All the bats, all of them. So it's going to be so much fun. Let's get into it on this 8-game slate. We have the Baltimore Orioles at the Toronto Blue Jays. You can already tell where this one's headed. We have Kramer taking on K. The over-under has to be like 1 million in this one. Let's see here. No, because we don't have a total. That's beautiful. Kramer is 6,500 on DK, 63 on FanDuel. K is 4K and 6,200. Stack them up, folks.
I mean, yeah, Kramer is. I would say he is an outside shot if you really want to save money. His last start was a quality start, second of the year, and it was against Toronto. But I believe that one was in Baltimore, but he's still going to be a no for me. So like you said, stack up either side of this. Mountcastle, Mullins, Mancini on the Oakland side are good options. Bo Bichette, Reese McGuire's hitting like 500 over the last week. 2,100, 2,400. Vlad Jr., obviously. Kevin Biggio, another cheap option. Santiago Espinal if he's in the lineup. So, yeah, it's all bats in this one.
Yeah, it's going to be fun trying to find all the value bats because we're going to be paying up for pitching. It's going to be really entertaining. Like, oh, if I want to play Bichette and Vlad, well, there goes most of my money. So let's see how the rest of this one goes. Right. It might make Toronto low owned. Let's put it that way. So keep that in mind. Next up on the slate here, you got the Atlanta Braves against the Cincinnati Reds. Josh Tomlin is making the spot start. Oh, the years of stacking against Josh Tomlin. Against Santillan 7,500 on DK, nothing on FanDuel. Obviously, no total in this game. The Braves, their offense, like they go off like twice a week. The rest of the time, they should go off. They don't. They are the most frustrating team in baseball. It's a great spot for them in Great American Small Park, though, to just light up joint. At the same time, the Reds are going to be quite cheap against Tomlin.
Yeah, I mean, Santillan, we're just not there yet as far as innings pitched. Josh Tomlin, as you mentioned, stack against him. So, I mean, look, Freddie was 4 for 4 tonight.
Yep.
So, if you want to go back to him, great. Acuna is obviously always in play. Albies is starting to hit, but he's priced up as a guy that's hitting at 49 and 32. Heredia, 31 and 22. Almonte has been hitting in a good spot, although not hitting. On the red side, it's, if you want to go with Winker, go ahead. If you want to go with Castellanos, go ahead. Jonathan India has been hitting. He's actually real cheap on or real expensive on DK, really 52 and then 26 on FanDuel. So that's a little bit interesting, the pricing gap there. Tyler Naquin is starting to hit and come around a little bit, 44 and 24 respectfully for him. And then whichever catcher is in there between Barnhart and Stevenson are all decent options here.
I'll also mention Eugenio Suarez. He's 44 on DK, 3K on FanDuel, and he's really started to hit the ball well of late. Like not hitting 200, he's actually hitting around 300 over the last couple of weeks. So he's starting to turn things around. It's a shocker what happens when you don't make a guy that's not good at shortstop play shortstop. Like, let him play third base and be comfortable again, and he actually hits the baseball. And don't make him lead off. Like, there's so many things they just did to mess with him. So I think Sanchez is a nice value as well if you want to get the cheaper part of Cincinnati. No problem with that at all. And there's been some cheap spots in Atlanta. So, like, I'm just mentioning this because we're going to want some value. You mentioned Almonte's been hitting cleanup. Inciarte was in the lineup today. He actually had a good game. Adrianza was in the lineup. So there's stuff there. Then Riley's cheap. He had a couple doubles. You can get some of the cheap pieces on both these teams to be very, very effective to open up the door to some more expensive bats and the pitching on the slate. So stack up this game or get some pieces because there should be some offensive explosions in Great American Small Park. Boston at Tampa Bay. Man, we have like no totals for these games. All these pitching games, like no one knows what to do. Jake Pivetta versus Michael Wacha. Pivetta's 9,500 on DK, 78 on FanDuel. Wacha's 7,000 on DK. Not priced yet on FanDuel. You know, we kind of talked about it before the show, Boggs. The pitching's so bad you can make an argument for Pivetta. But at the same time, Tampa Bay, they look dang good on Wednesday.
You call him Jake Pivetta, by the way? It sounded like Jake Pivetta. You probably said that.
Maybe I did. I don't know.
Come on, man.
It's a gas can at time, Pivetta.
Yeah, with me, too, doing all my college football stuff, too. I mean, just the names start to clump together, you know, yes. Outside of Kool-Aid on Alabama. So that's great. And then LSU got a corner named the Coldest. So Kool-Aid is going to go up against the Coldest next year.
Oh my God. You think I have dad jokes now?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh baby.
My bad, everybody. Didn't mean to tee him up.
I'm assuming Kool-Aid's a big guy like us, so it's like he's gonna go.
No, he's a whiteout. Whiteout or what? DB. I can't remember.
No, that's like calling a skinny guy Bubba. Like you can't do that.
Very true. But yeah, look, Pivetta, always high K upside. So he has that, but he only has 4 quality starts and 14 starts so far this year. So at your own risk, if you want to go, and he's not cheaper on DK. So I don't know why you would take him in DK at all. 9,500 is too much. Kike Hernandez, good PVB against Wacha. Wacha, I'm just not interested in. 4 for 12 with a homer. And then, you know, Boston bats have been hot. Devers, Bogarts, JD Martinez. We talked about Renfroe. You've talked about Bobby Dahlbeck the last couple days. So he's been hot. As you mentioned, Tampa Bay warming up Obviously, Wander's more expensive today, 38 and 27, but still affordable. Joey Wendell has been hitting. Randy Arozarena's on a heater right now. Manny Margot is 3,000 on both. Nice cheap option. So for me, I get Pivetta love, but it's not coming from me.
Yeah, I think Brandon Lau, he had a nice night on Wednesday. He's 42 on DK, 31 on FanDuel. He's another guy I take a peek at because I want nothing to do with him versus left-handed pitching. But you get a righty like Pivetta on the bump. I'm very intrigued. Flip side of that, I say I like the lefty versus Pivetta. Pivetta's also had some big reverse splits in his career, so it might be kind of sneakier for the Arozarena side of things. But I think Tampa Bay could be interesting because people might have to use Pivetta. The 9,500 on DK is crazy, but on FanDuel, on a tournament, I could see the gamble. Now we get to a game with a pitcher I enjoy to use. We have Luis. No, I'm almost, but yeah, it is Luis Garcia. I was going to butcher another name. It's Luis Garcia.
I got you paranoid. I got you.
Yeah, I'm double checking everything. It's like the sixth sense here. Luis Garcia against Jose Urania, over under 9.5 on this one. Garcia's 8,700 on DK, 9,600 on FanDuel. Urania doesn't matter. Houston bats are just nuclear hot right now, so you're going to stack them if you can afford it. At the same time, I like Garcia a lot tonight. A, gets a bad slate, and B, he's actually been pretty darn good, and it's the Tigers.
Yeah, 4 out of his last 5 starts, quality start, high K upside. So I think he's the second best option on the board tonight, Luis Garcia. So especially at that price, he might be the first best option. So Urania is brutal, as you mentioned, 14 earned runs in his last 6 innings pitched. Altuve is 3 for 3 with a double and 2 triples against Urania as well. So like I said, I don't usually like to put less than 5 plate appearances on the sheet for PBB, but 3 for 3, you got to mention it. You talked about how hot the Astros have been. Brantley, Toro, Alvarez, Correa, Gurriel, all been hot. Scope went deep today. I think Daz Cameron did too for Detroit.
And stole a base.
And he's 2,200 on DK, 3,000 on FanDuel. So nice cheap option if we're looking for bats since we're paying up for pitching today. Willie Castro, 2,600 and 2,200, and then Candelario, 5,100 and then 2,400. So big price discrepancy for him.
Yeah, Badu's a nice cheap one as well. He's been hitting very, very well for Detroit. Scope's been amazing, absolutely amazing. Another monster game. That's why he's so expensive, at least on DK. On FanDuel at 31, it's very, very affordable. But Houston, Brantley's still too cheap. Toro went deep. Alvarez is up. His price is up, but he's on fire right now. McCormick went deep. They have so many cheap options in that lineup to go with the popular ones. Astros are going to be uber chalk. Going to be hard to avoid it all, but they're going to be uber chalk. I like Garcia quite a bit. If you're making a lot of lineups, I always like a little Detroit, but on a slate like this, it's going to be hard to not use a lot of Garcia at that price point. Joe Ross with the Washington Nationals takes on the Miami Marlins and Cody Poteet. Over under 8 in this one. Ross is somehow $9,600 on DraftKings. On FanDuel, he's 74. Poteet 71 and 59. Washington just came off a just home run derby in Philadelphia, heading down to pitcher-friendly Miami. Do you feel frisky with Poteet as an SP2 on DK?
I would put him in the same group as Pivetta and Kramer. You know, like, I get it if you want to. I don't want to, but I understand the logic behind it. So I'll say that. I'm not going to use him, but I understand wanting to. Duvall, 2 for 5 with 2 doubles against Ross. Outside of that, Marte has been hot. John Berti, Jesus Sanchez is a nice cheap option, 24 and 23 if he's in the lineup. Alfaro, 28 and 25. And on the Washington side, you just mentioned, coming off Grand Slam City for Josh Bell, who's 39 and 31. Schwarber has been hot, actually cheaper on DK, 39 versus 4,000. Turner is an option. Soto, obviously, like you said, a little slumpy, but always in play. Yan Gomes has been hitting too, and Starlin Castro's been hitting, and he's cheap, 32 and 2,300.
Yeah, I love that Jesus Sanchez price, 24 on DK, 23 on FanDuel. I think that's one of the better values on this slate. Joe Ross has shown signs of being good. He's also shown signs of being Joe Ross. It is going into Miami, so maybe it's one of those, like, I'm not going to use my 96 on DK. 74 on FanDuel, I can see arguments for it against Miami. I totally get that. At the same time, I don't mind like a Jesus Sanchez one-off to save a bunch of cash, as he could definitely find the seats in this one. Cleveland at Minnesota. CJ Mejia versus Jose Barrios. We have no total in this one as well. Mejia 47 and 57. Barrios is 10-4 on DK, 9,000 on FanDuel, and he definitely has to be one of the better options on this slate, Bogman.
Yeah, I mean, look, you see this price for Barrios, and on any other slate, I just say nope. Hasn't been good enough for me to pay 10-4 for him or 9,000 either way. But because it's so crappy in this slate, he's got to be in play. 3 out of his last 4 have been quality starts. His last start against Cleveland, 5 2/3, 2 earned runs, only 3 strikeouts and 1 walk. But it's not like Cleveland has been hitting. The guys that have been hitting for Cleveland, there are some cheap options. Harold Ramirez, 29 and 28. Josh Naylor, 34 and 23. Bradley Zimmer's cheaper on DK, 2,000, 2,100. But the Minnesota side, Nelson Cruz, Jorge Polanco, Luisa Rise is nice and cheap, 28 and 24. Kirilloff, 35 and 27 is a bad option. And Miguel Sano has been white hot recently. So you can play any of those guys too. But Barrios is one of the top 3 options. I'll put him at 3rd, though. I would say he's 3rd.
Okay, we'll recap those at the end when we finish everything. Bobby Bradley's always an interesting tournament play, but he's up to 45 on DK, 29 on FanDuel. And then you also have Trevor Larnach, who's been swinging it very well, and he's another cheap option for Minnesota. So Minnesota's got some surprisingly cheap options if you want to stack them up against Mejia, which is usually a good decision. Pittsburgh Pirates at the St. Louis Cardinals. Chad Kuhl versus Carlos Martinez. Over under 9 on this one. Kuhl 69 on DK, 58 on FanDuel. Carlos Martinez is a bum. Chad Kuhl maybe in play versus a very struggling St. Louis offense.
I'm sorry. Did you say the over is 9?
Yeah, so I don't know. It's low.
That might be the easiest over of the year. Just take the over. I mean, look, I kind of like Cool Chad, right? Been decent recently, but I'm not really trusting him. I'm putting him in the Pivetta, Kramer, all those guys. Carlos Martinez, 25 earned runs in his last 4 starts. That's 14 2/3 innings. He is god awful right now. He is terrible. So stack either side. Yadi Molina against Kuhl, 7 for 15, a double and 2 homers. 14 for 32 for Polanco against Martinez with 4 doubles, a triple, and a homer. 6 for 18 for Frazier against Martinez with a double. Brian Reynolds has been hitting. Stallings has been hitting. And I know it's probably 9 because you mentioned this before the show. St. Louis hasn't been hitting great, but Goldie, Edmund, Carlson, any of these St. Louis bats that are in the lineup are in play against Cool Chad. So, I'm a stack either side of this with bats for sure.
And we have found my value stack of the evening, folks. The Pittsburgh Pirates will be getting stacked because I do this from time to time, and it's been fun. But Brian Reynolds is far too cheap. He's hitting 3rd for them, and he is just a masher right now. Like 3,200 on both sides. Like at least it's kind of reasonable on FanDuel. It's way too cheap on DK. Adam Frazier at 4K leads the world in hits this season on DK, 3,000 on FanDuel. I don't mind Gregory Polanco in tournaments. You have Colin Moran. Stack up the Pittsburgh Pirates as value against Carlos Martinez. Carlos Martinez, he just helps prove because he's so bad. He proves that John Gant is a garbage person, probably. That he's
my God, you can't call John Gant a garbage person.
I'm just being sarcastic, but I'm saying he's probably a bad teammate because whatever lucky rabbit foot he has, he should probably share with Carlos Martinez.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay,
yes, that's what it is.
Maybe it's that Carlos Martinez is such a bad teammate that he has bad karma. Right.
Okay, maybe that's it. Maybe it's the hair. Doesn't
that sound more likely?
I don't know. I don't know. We don't know. Maybe they can ask that question when they check his belt buckle tomorrow. That would be great. That should be a questionnaire you got to fill out.
Yeah.
Like, where do you touch me?
Are you a bad teammate?
Yeah. All right. Chicago Cubs at the Los Angeles Dodgers. Zach Davies versus Walker Buehler. Davies 81 on DK, 7,000 on FanDuel. Buehler's 11.5 on DK, 11,000 on FanDuel. Over-under's 8 on this one, Bogman. We have reached the ace of the evening.
Yeah, it's Buehler, and it's not real close. So he's by far the best option. I put Garcia at 2, and then Barrios at 3. That's how I would list him. Look, Davies had looked pretty good, but he gave up 8 in his last start. He had 2 quality starts in a row before that. So just beat up last time. Nobody is hitting for the Cubs right now. I mean, I put names on this list, but I don't want to play any of them. Peterson, Ortega, Contreras have been the best hitters, but they haven't been hitting over the last week. There is some PVB data against Buehler. Chris Bryant is 3 for 9 with a double. But Max Muncy's 2 for 7 against Davies with a double and 7 for 20 for Justin Turner, 350 average with a bomb and a couple runs. So Chris Taylor, Pujols, Pollock have all been hitting as well. So it's Bueller and Dodgers bats in this one for me.
Yeah, Muncy and Bellinger are back. They're almost back to full strength, so it's going to be scary for Zach Davies. The one thing I will say on a very bad slate, a Cubs stack will be virtually unowned. So you got that going for you. I'm not sure I'm there because I think Walker Buehler is the play. But if you're one of those guys that likes to play contrarian and you're cool with saying, you know what, I'm either going to win everything or lose, that's just the way I'm going to do it, the Cubs is part of the win everything program. So just keep that in mind on this slate. But I'm with you on Walker Buehler. He's definitely there. And I'm with you. I have Garcia 2, Berrios 3. And then there's that kind of glob of, Kramers and Pavetta's, which is crazy. He's priced up, actually. Poteet. Those are the kind of the guys, maybe Chad Kuhl's. Like, let's say Kuhl, Kramer, and Poteet, because they're all cheap, are kind of that SP2 realm tonight. What stacks do you like tonight?
Anyone that isn't those 3 pitchers, I think, is a decent stack because the pitchers are god awful today. Yep. So, but for real, like, Houston against Urania is the best stack. You mentioned the nice cheap one in Pittsburgh against Carlos Martinez. So after that, I mean, maybe Minnesota against Mejia could be decent. And yeah, I mean, I think Cincinnati against Tomlin too. Come on, those are the stacks I like.
That Great American Small Park game is going to be great because the other part is if Cincinnati starter scuffles, their bullpen's atrocious. So maybe it's just what Atlanta needs to just bust out. We'll see. What I would say is when you download the app, the LineStar app in the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, you can make these tough decisions by looking at the ownerships. And with so many good offenses in play, just fade the chalk. That'll help things out so much. And then you can play Walker Buehler, and it doesn't matter. You can play the chalk pitchers. I'd rather pay chalk pitchers and differentiate with hitters any day of the week, considering a guy can go 1 for 4 and hit a home run where a pitcher is pretty much, you have an idea, he's got those 6 or 7 innings. Like, this is how it's going to go. Like, you can kind of game plan a little more for a pitcher. So take the pitchers, get the sure like 15 plus points, and get a little weird with the bats. I'm cool with that. I'm with you there. Lastly, check out LineStar on Twitter, at LineStar app and at LineStar MLB, because they tweet out so much cool stuff, all the stuff and things about baseball, home runs, the works. And they also tweet out the home run calls of the day. Bogman led off the show saying humbly that he hit his second one in a row with Jose Altuve. That is very, very good. Can he make it 3 in a row is the question. And you'll only find that out if you follow them on Twitter and you retweet the home run calls of the day from myself, Bogman, and Ryan Humphreys. And 3 lucky retweeters will get chosen to team up with each of us. And if one of our guys hits a home run, you're going to win some free swags. So Bogman, on this Thursday, June 24th, with all of this offense, who's your home run call of the day?
Man, it's hard to pick. It's hard to pick and choose from all of this, but I'm going to go with Carlos Correa against Jose Urania. So give me Carlos Correa to go yard. I think it's safe going back to the Astros for a second day in a row, and Urania has been brutal lately. So give me Carlos Correa.
More often than not, that is a very safe call. I am going to Great American Small Park, and I'm going with Eugenio Suarez versus Josh Tomlin in that Atlanta bullpen. So give me some Eugenio, who is really, really heating up and still very affordable on both sides. So I'll go Eugenio Suarez. You'll go Carlos Correa. We're both going to win some free swags for some listeners. And I bet Ryan Humphreys, one of these nights we're hitting the 3-peat. We've had a lot of 2s lately. Lots of 2s. The 3-peat's coming, and you know what that means? It's like, isn't it like a pizza party or something, like a rave, like the Dan Plesac thing on MLB?
We get a pizza party and a rave? That sounds like a great time.
I'm just telling them we better email the guys, but I just got to tell them ahead of time, like it's coming. Like, get a sponsor now, Domino's, Little Caesars. I don't know, just figure it out. But it'll be really, really cool. I highly recommend it, everybody. But 8-game slate. It's going to be a wild one, so be ready to tilt. It's going to be really, really, really wild. And if you want to tilt, you can tilt at me. I'm on Twitter at BDintric. Bogman is on Twitter at Bogman Sports. 8-game Thursday, big slate coming up for you Friday. We'll be back with you then. But for now, good luck.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to the LineStar app On Deck podcast. Download LineStar app from the App Store or go to LineStarApp.com for all your DFS baseball needs. If you love the On Deck podcast, support KC, Bubba, and Bogman by rating and subscribing. Good luck.